This is awesome. I know what it's like to be taller than you.
Be strong, swing hard. Good, run.
You're just watching this little person, do something that I know even with my team, I try to encourage them to do. I'm like, you're afraid of something, you've got to confront some of those fears. And, I think we're always trying to teach people that. And we didn't even try to teach him this, and we never have. We've never once told him anything like that.
It's really something he taught us at the end of the day.
It's just, him deciding for himself, like, okay, I'm not going to let this thing, get the better of me. And I don't know, I think if you're going to have what he's got, you have to have something special in you, and I think that's what he's got.
20 weeks into their pregnancy with son Jimmy, Georgia Highlands coach Dash and wife Jenny O'Neill went into their second ultrasound. The tech had discovered a complication, and the couple was sent to see a specialist.
Yeah, it was really traumatic at first. We had a really hard time coping with it because there was a period of time between when they said there's something wrong with his heart and when they could tell us what it was. We had to go several times to have several sonograms. And so in between that time, you start Googling things and researching things, and we got to the point where we're like, well, at least if they don't say this and say that, and then they did, it was kind of like the worst case scenario to us of what he would have.
He has what's called double inlet left ventricle, which means that he was only born with one ventricle. So typically you would have 4 chambers in your heart, and he was born with only 3. Double inlet left ventricle is kind of a configuration where both of your great arteries enter into your heart in the same location, and they're typically reversed. His were. It's called transposition of the great arteries. So they were reversed. They were kind of backwards from where they're normally supposed to be. And he also had a kink or a coarctation in his aorta. So it's a pretty complicated diagnosis.
Now 8, Jimmy has had 3 surgeries so far. The first came 3 days after birth, when he underwent a pulmonary artery banding, or PAB, a procedure in which a band is placed on the pulmonary artery to reduce pulmonary overcirculation and protect the lungs.
And it's just such an unknown too. Like you said, it's, they're doing surgery on this tiny little person, and his heart's the size of a strawberry at birth. And they're going in and they're putting these bands on and restricting, and of course, like most things, it doesn't go perfectly smoothly. He went into a jet arrhythmia the night of his first surgery. His track record seems to be to try to make things at least a little bit interesting, when they do something, and so it was really hard. It was really hard, and hard on her, I think, for not being able to see him. Hard on me because, I'm sitting there alone with him, at times, and not sure what to do, but luckily we had each other and we got through it.
At 3 months, Jimmy had a cardiac catheterization to gauge pressure and blood flow and see if he was a good candidate for the next surgery and his treatment. But during the procedure, Jimmy went into a heart block, where the catheter touches the heart's electrical system, interfering with the spread of electricity. It necessitated a pacemaker, which was placed during Jimmy's second major surgical procedure, called the Glenn procedure. In open heart surgery, in which a doctor disconnects the superior vena cava from the heart and connects it to the pulmonary artery. The result being that the blood from the upper part of the body flows directly into the pulmonary artery, and the pulmonary artery takes the blood to the lungs. The surgery went well, but a week later, Jimmy had a stroke on the day they left the hospital. He couldn't keep food down and wasn't completely alert. Hours after bringing him home, Jimmy was in the emergency room. And the aftermath helped strengthen the O'Neill's faith.
We didn't know what was going to happen. We were being told to prepare for even the worst. They thought that they had found another clot in his heart that they were afraid was going to break off. And he was basically unresponsive for the first couple of days after the event. Wouldn't look at us, couldn't focus his eyes on anything. And so we made the decision to bring in a priest from her uncle's church to baptize him. And we kind of felt like that was just something we wanted to do. And the priest came in and he undid his kit. And when he dipped his thumb in holy water and he crossed Jimmy's forehead, Jimmy opened his eyes, and he locked eyes with the priest, and he smiled at him. And I mean, it shakes me now to tell the story. I feel like I felt God in that room.
This past fall, Jimmy underwent his third, what the O'Neills hope is the last surgical intervention for the time being, called the Fontan procedure. Another open heart surgery, this one in which the inferior vena cava is disconnected from the heart and connected to the pulmonary artery using a tube. A hole, called a fenestration, allows some blood to flow back into the heart. The Fontan procedure can come with a multiple-week stay in the hospital to recover, and for Jimmy, it meant checking steps off along the way before he could go home.
One of the steps towards home was he had to be able to go up a full flight of stairs because we have stairs in our house. And so the physical therapists, to check off on him, they had to get him to go up a full flight of stairs. And so now, this isn't their fault, I'm not upset with them, but of course the stairway that they bring him to looks like it leads to a dungeon. I mean, it's like
the real stairway of the hospital, so it's a stairwell.
He was like, no way, so he wouldn't even go in.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even go into the stairwell, and we were like, it's okay, we gotta, maybe we can find some other stairs some other time, and you can go up those, and that's how we'll get you closer to home, and so we brought him back to the room, and he was just sitting, probably watching something on his tablet or drawing or doing something like that, and he just kind of goes, Mom, Dad, I want to go do those stairs again. And so we walked him down there, and I mean, he just went in and he kind of looked around, and then he got this big smile on his face, and straight all the way up to the top, straight all the way back down to the bottom.
Thumbs up at the top.
Yeah.
For Jimmy, the decision to go back and conquer those stairs really was simple. Overcoming a fear and overcoming something that seemed hard meant he would be that much closer to home.
Turning not scared makes me go home faster.
I mean, sometimes I do wonder why it's happening, but I just have to have faith that he's going to be okay. I believe he's here for a reason, and he's so strong and so resilient, and he just faces challenges head on. I just have to believe that, God put him here for a reason, and he has the heart that he has for a reason, even if we don't really understand, what that could possibly be in the long run. But, I feel like it's all meant to be somehow.
Hey, what up, dog?
Hello, Sprat.
Oh, you gave him a real high five. Look at that.
Jimmy's battle isn't over. There could be more surgeries down the line, more challenges for Jimmy Braveheart. But his parents have their visions and their hopes for his future.
I mean, I always have a vision of dancing with him at his wedding, him graduating. I can see him in the tux, for both of those things. I see him in a tux, and having a family, finding someone who loves him that will also help, in his journey, because it's a lifelong journey.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what he's doing 10 years, 20 years from now, I mean, I just hope that he's still passionate about something, and that he's just living the best life that he can live. I mean, like she said, I mean, I want him to have a family. I want him to be able to experience those joys that we get to have.